Welcome. So today we're going to talk about portion distortion. We sort of lost our perspective, right? So today what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of that perspective from someone who's been in this space, who has a beautiful story to share, and who's going to take us on a little bit of that perspective of what a real plate of food should actually look like, right? So, but before we do that, let me introduce the show and then tell you about our guest. But my name is Cheryl Bassett. I'm founder of Unstoppable Connections, international bestseller, and creator of the award-winning Unstoppable Family Meeting Toolkit. I am also the host of this show, Kitchen Table Conversations, as part of the Edge Network and Global One Networks. So what we do is, my journey has really been about connecting families. And I do get to share something around 4 gifts that has everything to do with how a family can create an unshakable, unbreakable foundation built on trust. So if you'd like to learn more about the work I do, you can go to unstoppableconnections.com. And if you have an idea for this show or you'd like to be on this show, you can reach out to me at kitchentableconversations.com. So what I like to do before we jump in a little bit more is to kind of set an intention for the show. This show does cover what I call the fun stuff to the tough stuff and everything in between, but all of it is designed to ignite conversations, to strengthen our families, and to create a positive ripple out into the world. So what I ask is that we tap into one of the gifts that I get to share, which is the 4th gift, the gift of love. And when we unwrap that gift, it's really about choosing to celebrate ourselves and others. And so it's with that open heart, that open intention that we come here to celebrate Jeremy today, who came here to share his expertise, his heart, his knowledge and talent with us. So I ask that you open your mind and take it in. And with that, let me just tell you a little bit about Jeremy, and then I'm going to bring him on so you can meet him and we can get started on hearing a little bit about him and who he is. He's a nutrition therapist and weight loss coach. He helps people build lean, healthy bodies with delicious food in perfect portions. That's what we're going to be talking about, right? No longer do people have to try to lose weight. It just happens as a byproduct of this delicious journey. I don't know about you, but I like the word delicious in there. Finally, people can enjoy living their way to a leaner, healthier version of themselves. His favorite thing to do is to get out into the grocery store, walk the aisles with people, really help them to understand what they're looking at. And he's also going to share that system, the same system that helped him to lose 60 pounds of fat off his body. And he's literally helped thousands of pounds off of the bodies of people all across the globe. So with that, let me bring on Jeremy. Welcome.
Hey,
great to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, yeah, this is one of those topics, right? Everybody, the portion distortion. In fact, I did research on this one time, and I know you're going to go way into it in a different way, but just the size of plates over the years. So when we talk about filling up a plate, I used to have the plates of my great grandmother, and the dinner plate was like the size of what we now call sort of like just a side plate. It's amazing. So when you filled up that plate, it was actually probably a normal sized portion. Now we fill up a whole plate and pile it on, and we're using plates that are 3 times probably the size of what an original plate was intended to be. So anyway, we definitely have moved in that space, but I know that you have a beautiful reason. And I alluded to it probably a little bit with the fact that you've lost a lot of weight yourself on this journey. But why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in this space and why this is such a passion, topic for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always struggled with my weight as a kid, and it stuck with me right through high school. So I ended up joining the gym and eventually becoming a health professional. I was a personal trainer. But it took me a couple of years before I really started paying attention to the other side of it, which is nutrition. I saw 2 of my friends, and they had decided to compete in a bodybuilding show. And at first, I didn't think much of it. I was like, okay, cool. But then as 2 months went by, 3 months went by, their bodies just completely transformed in front of my very eyes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I said, what are you guys doing so different? And they said, would you believe that the only thing we changed was our diet? And I was like, wow. So they ended up hiring a nutrition coach, and I asked if I could hire the same coach, and I did. And what he taught me was how many calories I burn and what that looks like on a plate. And those 2 things never even entered my mind before that. But as the months went by, I went through a 60-pound fat loss transformation, and then I put on 30 pounds in muscle. And the only thing I changed was my diet. I couldn't believe it. Like I was putting in hours in the gym for.
Hmm. So I know there's a saying that bodies are not made in the gym, they're made in the kitchen.
Hmm.
Definitely have heard that before. So, but let me just, because I think this is an important piece. I mean, obviously they go together. You do need to build that muscle, right? At the same time, were you over the top in terms of your workout, or do you think you were doing a workout that a normal average person could embrace and do at the same time?
So it's funny. When I met my coach, he said, you need to work out less and you need to eat more. And I thought he was crazy, but I listened anyway. And exactly what he said happened. Like if I was supposed to lose 1 pound of fat that week, I did. If I was supposed to lose 2, I did. And then I loved it so much, I asked him to teach me how to do it. And then I eventually got certified. So now I've helped hundreds of people across the globe. I go shopping via Skype and teach the
Oh, okay.
exact same system.
Via Skype. I love that. The world we live in, it's great. Okay. I was wondering about that when you said, I thought, okay, so those are the clients you have that are in physical location to you, but you're literally going on Skype with them in the grocery store and walking with them.
Or Zoom, whatever.
Zoom,
whatever.
yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Zoom, for sure. Interesting. Okay, great. Well, I love that. And so do you find that most people just are really still trying to figure their way around the grocery store? Is that that navigation? They're not really sure like how to read labels and.
You know, it never entered our mind really. I mean, not to put you on the spot, but do you have any idea how many calories you burn in a day?
I do. I mean, well, I don't know actually, because, as I've gotten older, I can tell you it's less.
Mm-hmm.
I do work out, and I generally do stick to, pretty 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day type of thing. And that seems to work for me. But if I drop off on my workout because of that ratio, but I don't know, it works for me, but I'm not a big eater. I'm a bird eater.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Well, most people, it's never even entered their mind, and it never did to mine either until I watched my 2 friends. But when you do learn that, let's just use a little analogy. Let's say you're about 20 years old and your body, I'm going to relate this to automobiles. So let's say in your 20s, you got a motorcycle.
mm-hmm.
And you don't know how much gas you're putting in, and you don't know how much gas you burn. Unfortunately, the North American style is it doesn't matter as long as we eat too much. So eventually that motorcycle is going to turn into a small car.
Yeah.
And then it turns into a bigger car. And then it turns into a van. And the law of thermodynamics basically states that energy is transferred from one place to another, from one state to another.
Okay.
So essentially, no calorie that you put in your body is wasted. It's either burned or stored.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know how much the tank burned, you don't know how much you're putting in, you're almost impossible to get it right.
And all calories are not created equal either, correct?
Well, that's where macronutrient distribution would come in, and then you would split the ratios of carbs, protein, and fat.
Okay.
To really get the physique that you want, because you don't just want to lose weight, you want to lose fat. Otherwise, your body gets less efficient.
Right. And that's why I still think there is a balance on the other side of working out in building some muscle, right? And it's not just about doing aerobic, right?
The strength training is important too. At the same time, 2 or 3 workouts is sufficient. Like everybody pictures 6-7 days in the gym on the treadmill and burning calories. There's 2 ways of doing things. You can work hard. Like let's say I burn 2,500 calories, and I could do a workout which burns 500 calories, or I could just not eat those 500 calories and eat exactly 2,000 calories. So it's going to be the same. You can stand on a treadmill for about an hour and a half, or you can eat in perfect portion for 1 day.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the same 500 calories.
Gotcha. Yeah, that does make sense. So, and I know obviously though, the more muscle mass you have, the more you do burn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. But muscle doesn't happen by mistake either. So you're not going to get too much muscle by mistake unless you eat an awful lot of calories.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of people, they always think, oh, I don't want to get big. And that just doesn't happen by mistake. I always say, if you find that you're getting too big, which has never happened yet, then we'll taper it down. but it's not something to worry about.
You mean, oh, when women say, I don't want to look too muscular?
I've heard men say it too.
Yeah. Have you? Okay. That's interesting. Cause I always think that's sort of, which really doesn't happen. Right. As you say. So, yeah.
Not by mistake.
Not by mistake anyway. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say, I don't know. I mean, you and I didn't talk about this, but let's say there's a family sitting down. How would they come up with those numbers to know? Like, because obviously you might have, kids that are maybe they're teenagers, and then you got the adults. And is there some place they can go to actually understand more about like what's really important for them, or is there some kind of a I don't know, they have to go through a more extensive thing to try to figure out what that looks like for them, or is there a way they can figure it out themselves? I guess is what I'm asking.
So right on my website, ourperfectportions.com/calculator.
Okay, I'm going to put up your, because we talked about this earlier. Let's see. So it is ourperfectportions.com
/calculator.
Okay, which I don't have up there, but so you have to add the /calculator part, but at least you can see the website there.
Yeah, and that will bring you to a BMR calculator.
Okay.
And that is, you can find them on Google as well, but there's one on my website, which is free, I know about. And you can just type in your calculations there. I mean, MyFitnessPal will tell you this as well. But the key is to actually take that knowledge and figure out what it looks like on a plate and actually put that into your body. Knowing is half the battle. The second half is knowing how to put that to foods that you enjoy eating. So it's great to know that if I eat 2,000 calories, I'm going to lose a pound of fat every single week. But if I don't know what that looks like in Special K and eggs, which is what I want for breakfast, then it doesn't mean anything.
And what about spreading meals out throughout the day? Is that also important?
It is, but not as important as you would think. So if I burn 2,500 calories today, optimally, I would eat every 3 hours because that's how long stuff lasts in our blood. So ideally, it would be 5 small meals every 3 hours. Now, if somebody comes to me and says that's impossible, I can only ever eat 3 meals, could I divide that 2,500 by 3? Of course I could.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I prefer 5 small meals. I think that that's optimal. At the same time, we're all humans and we all have just different lifestyles and different needs.
So, because and I know somebody who's diabetic, obviously they have to be, that's the reason they have to be sort of sensitive to that stabilizing that way, right? With the more smaller meals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, 2 different kinds of diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
One that we give ourselves happens because we put too much sugar in the tank. And that's why. But when you eat in perfect portion, you're no longer putting too much sugar in the tank. You're putting the proper amount, or a tiny bit less, or a tiny bit more if you want to gain muscle. Mm-hmm. But most often it's a perfect amount or a tiny bit less.
So I know I'm going off track here. I'm just curious on these perspectives. But so like I know some people that do, and I won't even name the name of it, but they get points for what they eat. So let's say they get 10 points, which has nothing to do with calorie content or whatever. And they'll go, oh, I just ate something that was worth 4 points or 5 points. So half of my for the whole day is gone. And to me, that never made any sense.
So sorry to cut you off. The reason that makes sense is because the people who designed the point system understand the system that I'm teaching. But they're making it easy for you by giving you points and making it simple. But the ones who designed it with the same mentality.
Okay, but if I eat a donut for breakfast and waste half my points on a donut, I mean.
So what's the carb count in a donut?
Well, I don't know because they keep getting bigger,
Well, carb count in a donut is anywhere from 30 to 60.
Okay.
So now, how long is it going to take you to burn that is my question.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not that you can never have a donut. Because a donut is made of flour, which is the same thing bread is made of, which is the same thing almost everything in North America is coated in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all carbohydrates, at the end of the day, turn into glucose inside of your blood. Whether that's a donut, whether that's an apple, whether that's pasta, fruit. At the end of the day, it's going to turn into glucose. So 30 grams of carbohydrates is equal to 30 grams of carbohydrates, whether that's in the form of an apple or a donut. For the purpose of weight loss, it will still work. For the purpose of your body and health, there's no good nutrition to a donut. There's no vitamins and minerals. So, of course, choosing whole foods is going to be better. At the same time, it's ridiculous to think that any food is off limits.
Right. No, I agree. It's what you do every day, right? That it's the slight edge concept. If every day you get up and have a donut, that's not good. If every day you get up and eat healthy and once in a while throw a donut in, it's fine, right? There was a saying one time especially during the holidays where people tend to go off, the deep end, if you will. And it's like, but I'm like, it doesn't matter what you do between Christmas and New Year's. It matters what you do between New Year's and Christmas. It's like, don't worry about it 24/7, 365. It's about that balancing, but doing the slight edge of really doing the things that are more healthy, right? But not that you can't ever indulge.
Yes. Well, I will tell you a story. The first book I ever wrote was called North American Fat Ass. I thought I was so smart.
One more time. North American
Fat Ass was the book that I wrote the first time.
All right.
And the reason I called it that was because I was the kind of kid that grew up on Pop-Tarts and Joe Louis. Mm-hmm. So when I first got my meal plan and he told me to eat sweet potatoes and chicken, I had protein shake and Pop-Tarts. Mm-hmm. It still worked. I lost 60 pounds of fat.
Okay.
I don't recommend that anymore. Now my program is Our Perfect Portions because I became a nutrition therapist and I understand the importance of vitamins and minerals. Mm-hmm. But yes, I totally agree with you. At the same time, the science still works depending on your goal. If your goal is optimal health, then vitamin and minerals can be also optimized. Those are the micronutrients, and the macronutrients are the carbs, proteins, and fats.
But if it's just weight loss, which it really shouldn't be, but if it was, what you're saying is it's not really about what you're taking in, it's the amount, the carbohydrates, the count of the food that actually matter.
So I'll put this in two different ways. I have two different programs. One is a weight loss program, and one is optimal health. That's nutrition therapy. My weight loss program, I have never, ever, ever picked the food choices. So whatever you want, Cheryl, is what's going to be on your menu.
Okay.
So there's no restrictions, not for this. For the other one, how we do that is we measure your vitamin and mineral deficiencies, which change as time goes on. So you might be low in vitamin C that week, and we might just tell you need a couple extra berries and some fruit, and that'll pick it up. And then a couple weeks later, you might be low in magnesium, right? So optimal health comes, but if you can't just throw somebody into an optimal diet right off the bat, because that's how I failed. It's got to be baby steps.
Right. Yeah, I always say you can't take people from McDonald's to organic, right, in one fell swoop. No. It's a baby step process of kind of graduating there, and it doesn't mean you can't ever have McDonald's. But we know, I know some people that's like their staple, which is yeah.
I'll tell you a story. During my weight loss phase, I could have one McDonald's hamburger and a portion of protein, and I would still lose fat that week if that was my perfectly portioned meal.
Okay.
Right? Now, if I add fries into that, it's not going to work. If I add a soda into that, it's not going to work. If I add both, now I've had 3 times the amount of gas. It's going to take me 9 hours to burn that off instead of 3 hours.
Right. So you probably already said this, but how long, the 60 pounds that you lost, how long did that take you?
That took me about 6 months.
Okay.
It was 6 months, and it was not straight 60 down and then straight up 30. It was a transformational process.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I was actually on the scale. It was only a 30-pound difference.
30 pounds, but obviously it's the difference between fat versus muscle.
Inside my body was a 90-pound transformation.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah,
which trips a lot of people up because they judge their entire mood on what the scale says.
Yeah, I my mom was one of those people that, if the scale, like you could just tell if the scale read something she was sort of happy with, she was in a really good mood all day. And if it didn't, she was not. And, and we can even fluctuate in water weight. Good Lord, sometimes, right? Like, I have a dress and a pair of pants that I just want to make sure that I can still put on. That's like I don't really get on the scales because yeah.
I like to use pictures. So anytime somebody starts with me, I say, take a picture because 6 weeks later, you are going to look different. Mm-hmm. Right. And then pictures never lie to you.
It's funny, too, because people can't see themselves until they take a picture.
Well, it happens slowly.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend one time who didn't think she'd lost any weight, and we took a picture and showed her, and she could see it. It was like,
Yeah,
but she'd look in the mirror, and there might have been a little bit of just distortion of her own image of herself going on with her, but at the same time, she could see it in the picture, but not in the mirror.
that's the thing, right? Time, it takes a while, and then it curves up like a hockey stick and gets exponential results.
And that probably goes in both directions, by the way.
Sorry?
Well, that probably happens in both directions. People that gain weight sometimes don't realize until they see a picture of themselves and go, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize like that I had put on that much weight, but it starts to do that, right? Same thing with weight loss. So
yeah, and it's usually somebody that says something or a picture that we realize it and we're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Right. And then people want to do stuff about it.
Right. I just had this happen with my husband. I took a picture and he's like, oh my God, what, wait a minute. You sure that's me? And I was like, yeah. So,
and he went up?
He went up. Yeah. He's gone up a little bit, but he retired. Yeah, so there's been a little bit of shift for him, but not massively. He looks great, but he's noticing it. Oh, I got this. Let me get a drink of water.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my main message is the importance of just knowing for yourself what that looks like, because at least then you're consciously doing it. So you know that by looking at the plate, there's 4 servings of carbohydrates on this plate, and now I'm consciously putting way too much into the tank. Or, like, I like to say it like this too. Let's say that I went from the motorcycle to the car to the sedan, and then I decided I wanted to do something about it. All I have to do is learn how much gas that is. So say it's $20 of gas to get there, and then just keep putting in $18, right? And then eventually there's not going to be any gas left. And you got to take a journey with it too, because you plateau. So every 6 weeks we change it a little tiny bit, but it's like bites on a plate. So it's almost subconscious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's great. I like that analogy, because obviously the gas tank just keeps getting bigger, right? And you keep trying to fill it. But you can do the same thing by making the gas tank smaller and getting back down to the size of what, like the motorcycle, right? Where you can really go fast.
Absolutely. And you can do it while enjoying any food.
Yeah. So what, yeah, just somebody over here saying great information. So just what if a family's sitting down, they can go and do this ourperfectportions.com/calculator, and I think that's kind of fun to discover, right? What does that kind of get to look like? And then if they want to start really though, when you start talking about counting carbs and is there an easy way for them to do that?
Well, yeah, it's very simple. I mean, let's say, for example, again, 2,500 calories came out to 500 per meal, and that broke down to like 30 grams of carbs, 40 grams of protein, and 12 grams of fat. Well, if I have every meal is that, I can look at any box and figure it out. Okay, I'm allowed 30 grams of carbs. I can look at any box. I can Google it once. How much carbs is in a potato? Oh, okay, this is how much, right? Or you can spend an hour with me in the grocery store. I could teach you the whole system, and we don't leave until you're telling me how much you can have in a 3-hour window.
Okay.
Right? But I mean, all you have to do is Google it one time. If I know I burn, 30 grams of carbs, just look at the box. I mean, all those boxes are geared for somebody at 2,000 calories. So let's say you happen to burn 2,000 calories. You could just follow the box and live a happy, healthy life. For the most part,
it's the box diet. There you go.
Right? Well, there's a reason that's a law, because it's real, right? That's 2,000 calories is your average person.
Yeah, I used to feel like I could do more. It has shifted, for me, and part of it is I think the muscle mass ratio. So I've been actually really, getting back into the gym. I don't feel like I've changed a lot of how I eat, but I do think that my body's changed a little bit, right? So, I didn't used to have to pay too much attention to it, just because I feel like I burned more. But as you get older, that does shift a little bit. So I'm assuming that it does. Well, I'm assuming when you go into Our Perfect Portions, it is asking your age, because that has to play a little bit of a role in.
Yeah, you lose about 0.5 pound of muscle a year after 25, and that's why our bodies get less efficient as time goes on.
Okay.
right? And our hormones also increase as time goes on.
Is that half a pound that you lose a year though, just if you're really not working actively at maintaining?
No, that happens to male bodybuilders as well.
Oh, that's lousy. Okay. I was hoping maybe you could sort of reverse that some, but and I'm sure it does help to work out, but I get what you're saying. You're going to naturally lose it regardless.
Yeah, we do naturally lose it regardless as time goes on.
So, okay, well, this is great. What else do you think a family needs to know, or somebody, individual, that needs to know that would really be beneficial to them as they start maybe embarking on this journey, like even just from the mental aspect of doing it?
Well, I do have a very broad way. Like we have, let's just say my fist worth of carbohydrates is pretty close to what I would burn in a 3-hour window.
Okay.
The palm of my hand would be about the size of the protein that I would want in a 3-hour window.
Okay.
And the size of my thumb would be about how much fat I would want in a 3-hour window.
Okay, so the fist is the carb.
Fist is the carbs.
The hand, the palm of the hand is the protein. And then the fat content is your thumb. Okay.
Is the thumb. So let's think about this for a quick second. Let's say we had, how many potatoes do I need? How many potatoes do I need to have a fist?
Well, that'd be one.
One potato. So now we haven't even been shopping yet. What if I have garlic bread beside that?
You're gonna have to cut the potato in half.
Oh, but it's still possible. Very good. Right?
Yeah.
What if I have a glass of Coke with it?
What if you have what?
A glass of Coke with it.
Oh well, yeah. I don't know how many carbs. I don't drink Coke at all, but I don't know. What would you say if they wanted to do that?
It takes me about 6 hours to burn a can of Coke.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, so basically, don't do it.
Well, you can absolutely do it, but
you can do it, but yeah.
Do it consciously, right? We can't try and restrict ourselves. It's not going to work because then you're going to feel deprived and you're going to binge eat. I've been there too.
Yeah.
Right. You just have to learn how to roll with it. So let's go on for 1 second. We have one potato, and now how many ounces of steak do we think I need to fill the palm of my hand?
I don't know, maybe 6 ounces.
Yeah, maybe around 6. You might have about 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now, what about butter? We can't eat butter and be healthy, can we?
Well, there's where I'll have a hard time if we can't, but I'm sure we can.
One thumb.
One thumb. Okay.
There you go. That's about a tablespoon.
Yeah.
Right. So now you can generally look at that, and you could look at your entire family's plates and realize, oh my God, I'm feeding these guys way too much, or oh wow, we have all carbohydrates and no protein, or geez, we just had 3 handfuls of fat in our fettuccine alfredo. No wonder.
Right. Absolutely. And the restaurants, right, have gotten out of control in terms of what they serve. I mean, I used to always say, like, when I order my meal, because I already know, because I'm not a big, I just don't eat big portions. So I've been doing that piece right. But I always say, just bring me a to-go box with my meal, because I'm already going to take half of it, at least half of it off my plate. Mm-hmm. Right. So that I don't overeat, but also because I get another meal out of it, by the way. So then we're being cost effective as well. But a lot of times the meals they serve are really not for one person. They're for 2 or maybe even sometimes 3 people. And
well, that comes into sales and upsells and making more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
But that's the portion of
How about pie? How about salad? How about as many drinks as you want?
Yeah, I think I read one time at Outback, if you get like the bloomin' onion as an appetizer and even split it and get their meal with their ribs and all that, and then the salad, and then whatever their dessert was, like 8,000 calories in one sitting or something. Yeah, it's just, so you can't, so that's like what, 4 days worth of
4 days for an average person. Yeah.
Yeah. So All right. Well, this has been great. I love that last thing you shared, by the way. I think that that kind of simplifies it all just for people to kind of look at, you know, and so obviously if you're a smaller person, your fist is going to be smaller. And like you said, the protein for you might be 6 ounces. For me, it might be closer to 3 to 4. So that's a really, just a really practical, I think, way for, you know, families to kind of see what that kind of looks like. But I think they're going to be shocked when they get their plate. If restaurants actually serve that to people based upon it, people would complain.
Well, it is my dream in life to create the first fat loss restaurant, and there will be only perfect portions for people.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is.
I like it. I like it. All right. Well, we're at that time. We've gone 30 minutes, so I love it. Great information. Jeremy, and they can reach out to you at ourperfectportions.com and learn more about what you do. I think you're doing some great work. I love it. What we always close out the show with what I call like a drop of thought, which is really like a pearl of wisdom, right? But if you were to share just your parting drop of thought for everybody, what would that be?
Please figure out how many calories you burn and try your best to at least come up with one perfectly portioned meal so you can have a general idea of what that looks like on a plate.
Love it. Great show sentences. I like that. Okay, good. I think really good practical stuff. So thank you so much. Excited that you were here and that we got this, because I know we had to reschedule a couple times. So it's always beautiful in its timing. I always close out the show with the same exact drop of thought, because it's really the heartbeat. It's who I am. But ripples don't flow in, they flow out. So if we really want to see change out in our world, it's going to start with us. It's going to start in our own homes with our own families first. So go spend time with them. What a beautiful moment we're in to actually have that time, like we've never had before in some cases. So anyway, thank you for being here, and to all of you out there, thank you for joining us, and till next time, take care.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.